Namo Laika, no Lodan, Nijinki, Traponda, Mayaki, no Wakuji, Dana Jasam, Tanjiki, Daki, Judun, Do. What also London get in the Djibouti, Chungundi, Chimbo, Chimbika.
So we've been going over the text, The Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, and we've gone through the sections of teachings of the small capacity and teachings of the medium capacity, and we have arrived at the teachings of the great capacity. Teachings of the great capacity.
What that London get in the Chimbika, the Tanga London get sick, it's our trouble, Remado, and then also to issue the address. Jude Manga do you going to send you to Dajin Yabaji, going to send you to what the tourists, Santa to what the radio was.
So, although this is a very condensed text and the words are very abbreviated, the meaning of these words are very expansive, and we have to include within this, although it is not explicitly there, implicitly the topics such as the 7-point cause and effect for attaining bodhicitta, or for achieving bodhicitta, and the equalizing and exchanging self and others practice for achieving for achieving bodhicitta, are also contained within this text, although it is quite abbreviated as far as the words go.
The So
we've gone over the meaning here many times, and perhaps you understand it, the meaning of the 7-point cause and effect for achieving bodhicitta, and the practice of equalizing and exchanging self with others. So we've gone over this many times, and perhaps you understand it, and that is at the root of this practice, the achievement of this mind that aspires to enlightenment.
That no Shanchu Sen Lojan Jen, Shanchu Sen Yan de Avo Resuna, then the Mersen Chuki Zons, what they get a Jungores, Landrenma, Mersen Chuki Zon Sushi, and then Jindun Ajuda Landren, Zosan Tegula Zobas, then doing there, and the Senji Santa Haji. Yanko, there's Mado, Mersen Chuki Zon. Chuki Zon, Chutan. Shanchu Sen Lojan, and the Shindu Lojan Jia, Doba Shindu, 6 preparation, and the Yanaja, Doba Shishi will have ina, and the Shanchu Sen with Domba languages. What they need later was.
So, in this text, it goes over how one achieves the state of aspirational bodhicitta, or the aspirational mind that aspires to enlightenment, that will then eventually be converted into an engaged mind that aspires to enlightenment, or an engaged type of bodhicitta. But it shows the stages that are necessary for a practitioner to achieve aspirational bodhicitta, and then hold on to it. And then that being, if he or she has a desire to engage in the practice of the 6th perfection, must then take a bodhisattva vow. And once that takes place, the bodhicitta becomes an engaged bodhicitta, and then that being is someone who can truly practice the 6 perfections.
Mense Segurita, Mense Chugi Zonga Lejan and Digo, Mense Chugi Zonga de la, and then Chugi Candes Zongores, and then San Candes Tangore, Chugi Zong with 2 Candes, and then Doma Matuba Tubashi tells that in Jirba. That Chugi Zong de Chuga Tene, Jindua Juro, Tanga to Landrum, Sidney and Digo, Silent Jidua, what then doing, and the Santan Digo Jirba. Then my Imbian. President and Long Richmond jebu yore. Then Peja Kashi Nalo and Azu Sanji Chun to Shum de Jomarbe, Sejadua, I take it in the Buddha Dama. What the Masan Chugi Zon, Chuga Dejan and Digris, Sonsa Yore. Ta Kante ta Shanchu Saint Lojan Jen and Yanlay, Kala Kansanga Yabu Jonsona, and then Masan Chugi Zona, Pentuche Yores. And then Chugi Zon at the Karza Tambo, Matuba Tuba Gen Lariba Jen Joa Joa. Joa del Carsana, and Geshe Lharampa or the Negatuya Yavashane, Matudan, Chuba Yabu. Then you allow Dumbaji waters, Tomba Matuba to which tells the old man medicine. Mason Chugis were Tashi, Jukar Gurasana, and then Atusha Lharampa, Sanji go down to Yadon, Matudan, and the Saman Joa Marbe, to which Matu to the top.
So in this section where we arrive at the aspirational bodhicitta, and how one keeps the aspirational bodhicitta and then is able to strengthen it and move on to an engaged type of bodhicitta. So in various commentaries and in the more expansive texts that have more words, you can see that not only the seven-limb prayer is contained in it, and it's not in such an abbreviated fashion, but they'll also include the actual lines of the refuge prayer within it. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, etc. So in other more expansive commentaries, such as the Lam Rinpoche, the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, we can find more expansive prayers that are contained within this preliminary section where one is working with the aspirational bodhicitta. But this Genlam Rinpa in this commentary calls it the preliminaries. So the preliminary section where one sets up objects of enlightenment such as statues and tankas and so forth, and then arranges flowers and offerings on the altar before these images of enlightenment. And then this is how that being strengthens and maintains the aspirational bodhicitta. So Genlam Rinpo's commentary, he calls for this the preliminary methods. So that's what he names it in this particular commentary that I am using today. So previously we went over the line in the root text where it says, facing paintings, statues, and so forth of the completely enlightened one, reliquaries and the excellent teaching, offer flowers, incense, whatever you have.
What the Laring Debajena Zena, Domba Matuba Tuba should be Taus at what which there is. Again, Laring Bajina Joas at what there is.
So in Genlam Rinpo's commentary, he calls this the actual preliminaries, or the method for those who are vowless. So that meaning of this is the vowless is the lack of the bodhisattva vows. So the method for those who are vowless or preliminaries, according to Genlam Rinpa. Lobsang. Shiloka ni. The Injike, the Shiloka chi. The Tamshe yore.
Do Choba Nava doing that. Shanju Nibi Tatu, Maduba is sent out Choba doing that Jones. Tashanju Nibi Tatu, Maduba is sent out Saturday, Moji, but Moji. Joa Moji. Tangoji that Sanji Chugis on to Candersana, Tom John to Waters. Then the Sanji Santa Waters, what the Moji to what the Levons. 니바 응어질라 저수 좋아서 세제 보고서 저를 산당 거를 담보 담보 저르지 안 니바 세제 대전 세제를 산당 거를 안에 담보 자와 저를 산다도 자와들라 상주님이 타도바 모두바의 생각이 근주송라 러대지 베말랑아 사조네 타모지와시네 담보 저를 연송샤스 어때 나가서 가서 그래 야도 조진되고 말이야. 나서 동발랜도 야도 조진되고 그러고. 어디 저 탐자네 안에 저도 랜송지 그래서 말이야.
That's the Abbot. Okay.
상주님이 다도 어떤 말이야.
So here it says facing paintings, statues, and so forth of the completely enlightened one, reliquaries or reliquaries here in the Tibetan is also stupa. The Tibetan is chorten, so that's stupas. And the excellent teaching, offer flower, incense, whatever you have, with the 7-part offering from the prayer of noble conduct, with the thought never to turn back till you gain ultimate enlightenment, and with strong faith in the 3 jewels, kneeling with one knee on the ground and your hands pressed together, first of all, take refuge 3 times. So here, this is also in the commentary by Genlam Rinpoche, where he calls this section the preliminary section, the method for those who are vowless. So it's very similar, this 9th stanza here, where it says kneeling on with one knee on the ground, to the way that one actually takes a vow. This actual stance, or this posture, is the posture that one is told to get into in order to receive vows. So Atisha in this particular section says to take refuge in a similar fashion to taking vows or to a vows ceremony. Here we can see the preliminaries of the 7-limb prayer and refuge and so forth. So the practitioner takes refuge, and after taking refuge then tries to generate the mind that aspires to enlightenment, or to have a mind generation take place. So the text basically is going to go through the stages that one needs to go through to increase and maintain the aspirational mind generation, and will also move beyond that to the next stages.
다들 맨선 쪽에서 와도 그 산당도 다 초신된 산당은 이거 샤자 도바다 아니 라마에 초신 산당에 대신하래 안 지연라 된바다教孙줘야 근데 산당은 이거 아니 소소 라마 고들래 안 지연라 된바다 어떤 비네 라마 고들네 세시 쪽에서 되는 이거 로스.
So we can also just imagine in the space in front of us the merit field and all the deities that are contained within the merit field. Or we can think also of our root Lama, and we can make an offering of the 7-limb prayer to the merit field containing our Lama or exclusively our Lama. And we can make this offering of the 7-limb prayer and so forth. And we can go through those stages of the 7-limb prayer and taking refuge in the presence of this imagined or this visualized merit field or our teacher.
다니바 senjiba 상당 자와 되네 이사래 되네 senje 저도 제자도 안에 senje 당지 상당의 senje 공고 senje 베드지자 되네 senje 당지라 샹비 sen은 권르유 나 송송의 제수당 제부수지 동해유 로아말라데데 동해진의 동해와 동해 주센래 로아 타반 되바이 도바메바 당자유 상주생 제바샤 세데게 what it is.
So here the next section will go over the actual mind generation itself. And here just translators note mind generation. Mahayana mind generation is synonymous with the mind that aspires to enlightenment or bodhicitta. So I'll be using mind generation or Mahayana mind generation, and that just means bodhicitta. So here it says, next, with an attitude of love for all living creatures, consider beings, excluding none, suffering in the 3 bad rebirths, suffering birth, death, and so forth. then since you want to free these beings from the suffering of pain, from suffering and the cause of suffering, arouse immutably the resolve to attain enlightenment. So here this is speaking of arising this special mind of bodhicitta. So when we speak of the mind that aspires to enlightenment, this is a mind that uses as its object of observation, or a mind that thinks of the 6 realms of cyclic existence and all of the different types of suffering that the beings have to endure in those 6 realms. The suffering of change, the suffering of suffering, the pervasive compounded suffering, the suffering of being separated from the pleasant, and so forth. So these beings all want to have happiness, just like oneself. So then the desire to eradicate all of the suffering of these beings takes place in the mind. And once that desire to eradicate the suffering of these beings takes place, and the desire to bring happiness takes place, then the mind generation itself takes place. And this mind generation needs to be a very stable, strong mind. And this is a mind that is a very brave, very courageous type of mind that is willing to endure all sorts of things for the sake of others. So the mind that aspires to enlightenment is a mind that wishes to end the suffering of all sentient beings and bring sentient beings to a place of ultimate happiness.
What Benata so Amanda Nasa Yobayina, and then also Amal Shamba Yor and Hiji Yore, and then Susu Amade Nasa Tag and also Sensu Chibble Hero, Macon Tigu and then Karjigu and then also Senlish, Shu Chibble Hero, Tenaji, Saint Tangerang, Mayan Batan, and then Tinchawada, or then again to shed you, and then Saint Tangi was Tendawa. And then Saint Tangi Dunga, Ju Dunga Suba, Dunga Judan Jeba, and Karasu, Judan Jeba, Tall and Goba Shawu, Saint Shutabaji, Guadi in Samarva,
Judan Shepa, Donagare.
Judan Jeba,
the Donagare.
Dunga Damba, Dunga Cisaran, Sabarinka, Dunga Damba Marva, T. Jokunju Dembaro, Ledan Yumova, what Tatan Jeba Kangalo. And then Maba Zune, Tabalango Shao, Navi, Sanlu Shuchi Google said it.
Okay. So when we look with this type of mind, we're turning it towards all sentient beings and the various types of suffering that they have to endure, the suffering of suffering and so forth. And this type of mind thinks of all sentient beings as having been our mothers. And then begins to remember their kindness and so on and so forth. And then this mind becomes a very strong mind. It's very similar. We have mothers, and if our mother was sick or had a very strong type of illness, because of the love that we have for her and so forth, our minds would become very strong-willed to making her well. Our minds would become single-pointed in a sense to making sure that she went to the right doctor and had the right treatment and so forth. And bodhicitta is very similar in that fashion, that the mind becomes very strong and focused on eradicating all of the suffering of sentient beings in general. And the way that takes place is the being wishes to eradicate the second noble truth, which is the origin of suffering. So once that origin of suffering is eradicated, then the being who has that origin of suffering no longer has to endure the hardship and pain of the suffering. So being who has this mind generation, or the mind that aspires to enlightenment, has a very focused, strong mind, and that focus is on eradicating the origin of suffering for all sentient beings, or the origin of suffering of all sentient beings.
Sijen Tanji Dunga Nesu Kingolo, and the Shanchu Samba Sushedi waters, Mariba. Dog Jukari ime, Dunga Jukari ime, what the Tama Shanchu Sambi Shedi waters. And the Sijen Tanji Dunga Mandubata, the one Dogo Batea, Shanchu Sambi Shegu waters. And the Shanchu Sambi Sijen Tanji maybe Shamba Yuare, Hiji waters. Then there is one, and the Shanchu Sambi, and the Sijen Tanji, and the Dunga members and Tabal Goba Shaw and the Saint Shuchoving waters, Marba.
So the Bodhisattva has a very strong and focused mind that is imbued with love and compassion, that wishes to completely eradicate the suffering of all sentient beings. And the Bodhisattva understands what are the causes of suffering are. And a Bodhisattva understands what the causes of happiness are. And the Bodhisattva's sole aim for becoming liberated, or for becoming Buddhas, is to be able to free all sentient beings from their states of suffering. And to be able to do so with the highest amount of potential, or the highest amount of qualities that a Buddha only possesses. So the love and compassion draws the Bodhisattva to sentient beings, and then makes the Bodhisattva wish to free all of those sentient beings from their states of suffering. And this is a very strong-willed type of being because of the focus of his or her mind.
Sanji Kumu Tunen, Sijen Taji Dunga, Sijen Taji Dunga, Meba Zoyada, Dewalungoyade, Neba Chasan Sanji Luare, and then Sanji Kumu Tugudu, Sanji Kumu Tubala, Shanchu, San Shuchavich Mena, and the Sanji Kumu Tuayumari. They in Sosa, and then Shanchu San Shutaviji, and then Sanji Kumu Matujuado, and then Maduba is Sentaki, Doba Mebatan, Shanchu said. Who
has the ability? Who has the ability to bring all sentient beings to a place that is beyond suffering? That is, bring all sentient beings to a place beyond the origin of suffering, that eradicates that origin, so eradicates that suffering. A Buddha has the ability to do that, and no other being. So this is the reason that a bodhisattva wishes to become a Buddha. So the sole focus is on the Buddha's abilities to do so. Without a very strong and stable bodhicitta, or without a very strong mind that aspires to enlightenment, it's not possible to become a Buddha. So this is the reason for this process of strengthening the bodhicitta and making sure that it is very stable. Because if there is not a strong, stable type of bodhicitta, then there is necessarily not Buddhahood. It's very important for the bodhisattva to be able to maintain and strengthen this bodhicitta, because he recognizes the need to become a Buddha because of the Buddha's abilities to free sentient beings. he or she.
or that then the sun down with the Mosen Chugis was sitting doing, see Jibin doing and that, see Momujin doing and that, Dins in and that, Landrug sitting doing and this other. Then doing that, San Sanchu San San Tamadilla, Mosen Chugis was what the Sugo says.
So when we speak of the Musem Chukizon, when we think of the aspirational mind and so forth, we can read things that are much more expansive, or a larger amount, or maybe a medium amount, or just the words that are contained within this text in more of abbreviated fashion are sufficient as well. So we can think over these words.
This is
Digre. Ngay jigian. The tone line jigian. Digre. The loud on. Nyamba.
Nyamba. Nyamba Jungju Kone Kondo Bewa. Jungju Kondo Naya Manyabi Talam Bebas. Dashanju Sen Shanju Sen Shujibi Nasuju Lesava Inaya. The Dabaya Majana Kunyandaris. Manyaba Sazajin Nyawuris. The Manyaba Zandu Mazibu Kone Kon Shia Jiba Naji Ya Ajitanguris. Shinu Zobaina tree. Tambu Chuchuro, then Kogalega Jim. Then Naji Shanju Sen Sanlo, Tambu Chuchu Jingasul Gualegarova. Then the Galega Leco Mama, the Sanlo the Shichu Danguris.
So, if the bodhicitta is not very strong and stable, it is possible that one can lose it, can lose this mind that aspires to enlightenment. So that's the reason it's necessary to increase the strength of the bodhicitta, because one wishes to have a bodhicitta that is of the type that can't be lost. So it's important to strengthen it, and it's very similar to a tree that has been planted. Initially, the growth of the tree is very small, but as it is watered and the various elements are present, the tree becomes larger and larger and more stable. Likewise, the bodhicitta, once one has the causal factors for this aspirational bodhicitta, then it's necessary to strengthen it like the tree. So the practitioner must move forward in order not to lose the bodhicitta to achieve the final goal. So then we must think again and again of this aspirational mind, or the mind that aspires to enlightenment, in order for it to strengthen. So we think again and again. And one good place to start that will make this mind very stable is of the benefits of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So to think of the benefits of it, and to think of its qualities and so forth again and again.
What the Penyo Casing as Shanchu saying, Penyo Jeba Casing as she shoots over the Kissit in less of this, that Landron Korunga be Penyo Jugis.
So previously we went over the benefits of this aspirational mind, and they are in the videotape when we went over them. But now we'll go over what is expressed in the Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment.
That Penyo Sanjay do Kanil Sunyoris. Sanjay Shanchu Sen, Shanchu Sen Penyo de Sanjay do Kanil Sunyoris. Beijing should be those. Beijing says Shanchu Senbaina, Kaza Jurova. Take a Sanjay Shuishabi, no Jurova. Then all Shanchu Sen Penyo. Dombo Gobin Dol Jison, Kani Waris, Dambo, Beijing should be Dole, Shanchu Saint Penson Javade, Dambo what the should Beijing said that Sanjig Homajig Mirota, Nemi, Beijing 주신도 달레스 Beijing 주신도 달레 Beijing 사데 상지고 로마지게 안에 상지를 상주 생을 가는 요아르스 상지 주도 안에 상지가 상주 생을 변들이 마송하지요와 어때 담부터 주기 있어
Nipa gare.
니바
Gangisen chikshinenge chingi.
Beijing 주신도 달레 동부 거빈들 동부 거봐 동부 거빈도 베이징 주빈도 니도와 동부 거빈도 담브레제 담부 동부 거빈도레 상주그 생배 몸보송요아레스 근데 베이징 주빈도레 상주그 생배 몸보송요아레스 다 담부 동부 거빈도레 송부 변해도 송기스.
So there's two different sections of the actual mind that aspires to enlightenment. I don't know them in English. I'm going to have to look them up in the dictionary. I don't want to waste a lot of everyone's time on the technical names. So I'll get you the technical names next week because I'm interested too, and I've actually forgotten them. So I'll get them for everybody, but we'll just call them 1 and 2 at this point. Okay? And if I remember them, I'll give you the technical names while we go.
다 대자와디 인치든 가서 와자와도 루다 대다르 멤비 센터 대다르 사진도와 대다르 멤비 센터 지는 대다르 준이를 준이 12 number 12 준이 대다 멤비 센터 지는 리바 되네 리바
네.
인치 안 거도 가는
준이.
대다르 멤비 센터네 제비에 가인 봐 되는 동부 거바이 놀래 상비 라두시 대 놀로방 라마 레니한테 조비상 주센지 연대 타면바 나바 셰바실라 되네 주센도 대다래 야네야도 제버샤스 어때 동부 거빈도 도더래도와 동부 거비 대다 멤비 센터 제네스 현생 담 상주 현생 고아당 현생 원에 줄 제여바이나 안고 마냐바지 아버냐우레스 마냐비 터시가리요 알으스나 안데 사지가 송샤비 동부거빈도레 상주가 생 편모 송요아레스 편도 산타바이나 안데 상주 생 가부용거레 냐가 마레스 대다 멤비 센터 대다 멤비 센터네 제비연 된거 제비연 된스게 편 상주 생집이 된스나 상주 생집이 편에서는 집어래 제비연 된 가인바 되는 동부거바이 인도레 샹비로도 시스 동부거빈도레 안에 보다 못인지로 샹베 네시오레스 돌레 샹베로도 시 다드네 편도 간데 시고스나 디 인도로방 라마레니데스 야나 소주근도도 루네 안에 편 간도 된시 셰바지고레스 야나 소주도 루네 셰게메나 안에 라마레니네 안에 샤주그 생 편근걸로 셰바지고레스 뉴뉴뉴로냐무
Lesson. Okay. The qualities of developing such an aspiration are fully explained by Maitreya in the Array of Trunks Sutra. Having learned about the infinite benefits of the intention to gain full enlightenment by reading the sutra or listening to a teacher, arouse it repeatedly to make it steadfast. So here is one one particular text where we can find the explanation of the benefits of achieving this. So the qualities are the qualities of the aspirational bodhicitta, or the aspirational mind that aspires to enlightenment. So here, the qualities of developing such an aspiration refers to aspirational bodhicitta. So that is the meaning of this particular line. And it says, fully explained by Maitreya, the future Buddha, in the Array of Trunks Sutra. So this is a particular sutra that explains all of these qualities. And having learned about the infinite benefits of the intention to gain full enlightenment, the intention to gain full enlightenment refers again to the aspirational bodhicitta. One thing also is here it says the qualities of developing such an aspiration. The reason for the word developing here is to meaning also to increase and to sustain, because one wishes to have the type of bodhicitta that can't be lost, that can't decrease or be lost. So it needs to develop or be developed. So that's the reason for this particular word in here. And then at the end here, we says, arouse it repeatedly and make it steadfast. So that refers to the necessity of having a very stable type of mind that aspires to enlightenment. So here it says, having learned about the infinite benefits of the intention to gain full enlightenment by reading this sutra or listening to a teacher. One could perhaps read this sutra by Maitreya or go to their spiritual advisor or teacher and get an explanation of this as well. So here Atisha is giving suggestions on how one can gain the understanding of this intention in order to achieve it or realize it, and then how to not lose it and strengthen it.
Mahayana the Hinayana Tajik Sabundamaris, Shanchuka Semena, Timing Chu Yomare, teaching Chu Yomare. Then you saw the Shanchuka Saint Yalegia, Keshe Vishararis, but you do what the Sabundamus.
Then Shanchuja Semena, Teme me, the Techen me, Nicha me, maybe cheer. Okay.
Shanchuka Saint, teaching Sajik Chu Tajik Sabundamaris.
Okay. So in various texts, it says that the root of everything is guru devotion, but also it's stated that the seed of all dharma or all Buddha dharma is the mind that aspires to enlightenment. It's been stated that it is the seed or the cause of both the Mahayana and the Hinayana teachings. So all of the teachings that are included within the Buddha Dharma are caused by bodhicitta, or it is said that bodhicitta is the seed that sprouts these other things.
And not to do so, Jemang Larry Chembotan, Nando Lajan Tene, young as young issue to this, Maria Chorosoya, Nando Lajan, Larry Chembo, Inji to Laval Juarez, Sanchu Senka to do the Toson of Visit 20 Juarez.
Then Nietzsche, boom, Ham, Nietzsche Yerebe.
Pen that and that Dumbo could do the pen to the Nija 200. Example.
Okay, so in this particular sutra, we can find 200 examples of the benefits of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So there are 200 benefits or reasons for achieving this mind that aspires to enlightenment. And in the future, perhaps we can look at more vast texts. We can look at texts such as the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa, and we can look at the liberation in the palm of your hand by Pabunka Rinpoche. At this point, in America, you have in your hands these texts, these precious books are translated into English, so we have the ability to read them and to understand them. So first it's stated that this aspirational, this mind that aspires to Buddhahood is like a seed. So if one thinks again and again of the benefits of bodhicitta, or the benefits of the mind that aspires to enlightenment, then one will have a very stable understanding of this that will increase. Juji.
14.
So
number,
before
14
the
number.
two types,
14 number.
the two explanations that I've deleted before are these two here. The Array of Trunks Sutra and the sutra requested by Viradatta.
Beijing Jishun do ta le, ti so na ra ten ba, kan ci ci ji song zang do, du ban de shas, du ban de sha, shang ju sen ji so na kan, de la ke de zo che na ki kan na kun kan de ne tu la ban jo. Kan gi shi mi ta ne je, sang je xin na mi me kan ki ren chen ta ki kun kan de, je den gon la phe wa yi, kan ki tham ja je de, shangju sen de ra tu na choban den cheba ba dal tan ma che sos wo beijing ji bin do de se ba ji dan do den do beijing ji jin do da le di so na ra beijing ji jin do da le so do beijing ji bin do de wa do de le de son yo res do de le kar so na di so na ra den ba di so na ra den ba Beijing Shibin Dole, and the Shanchu Sen Sona Sananda, Shanchu Sen Pen Sananda, Shanchu Sen Gote Tibarota, the Sona Raten Bas, Pen Yoris, Kante, Tiji Sonsan to Shulka Son, Jeji Son Yendo, Tiji Sonsan Yoris,
Juji Junga Judru.
Tanga Nin
The Gua.
Kan.
네.
대도.
네, 나무도. 싸와.
내가 대바도 냥도 주고로. 같이 체제 손장도 누디반데샤스. 체제 손은 누디진데 되게인스. 누디반데네 아디샤게. 체제 손은 나로마 누디진 되게인스. 어디 손이서.
That's it.
Yeah.
So the Injike Lagua, it's Shloka. The sutra, so here we've moved on to 14. So we're going to read 3 stanzas now. So the sutra requested by Viradatta fully explains the merit therein. At this point, in summary, I will cite just 3 verses. If it possessed physical form, the merit of the altruistic intention would completely fill the whole of space and exceed even that. If someone were to fill with jewels as many Buddha fields as there are grains of sand in the Ganges to offer to the protector of the world, we're going to move on 17. This would be surpassed by the gift of folding one's hands and inclining one's mind to enlightenment, for such is limitless. Okay, I just want to check one thing real quick here. So, okay, right.
초반단에 제바바 달라 탄 마치소 어떠바더래. 초반단에 제바바 달라 탄 마치소 어떠바도.
Yep, we're right.
두두반
We
데데샤.
went through 17.
두두반 데데샤. 상주 센지 소나가 달라게 데조치나 나게 간의 군간데 데네 데유 하반주. 강기 시민 단년제 상지신 레전다기 군간데 지된 거라 배워이 강기 탐자제데 샤주도네 센투나 초반되는 제바바 달라산 마치소스 다 된다 때문에 달라게 데조치나스 된다 뜻이도와 대통선 달라게 데조치나스 달라스 샤주 생게 변데 조레요 마레스 조요는 가서 미국 동으로 샤주가 생 변데 가서 미국 동고 마레스 샤주가 생데 게데 조레요 바이나 아는 가서 미국 동으로 샤주 달라 게데 조치나스 달라 게데 샤주 생게 변데 조인 바이나 아니 나기 칸 용주 칸도 그랬어 되게 중요해요 말했어 나카 차상 세베 차상 왔들 상주 생 변현들 로이나 된 중국 말 될래 하바 뭐요 그랬어 어때 알레 담지로잖아 달라 게데 조치나 나기 칸 군간데 되네 대유 하반 줄스 나카 중요해요 말했어 동반 중국 말했어 상주 생 변현
Ingela, Gangisena the Ngama Chik Jason. Okay, so here we'll begin where it says the sutra requested by Viradatta fully explains the merit therein. So in this particular sutra, this is from before, I just didn't translate it, Rinpoche started and I had already written it down. fully explains the merit therein. At this point, in summary, so Atisha here states that he's going to summarize, he's going to condense the explanation or the meanings of it, and all of the merit that one gathers by just achieving this mind that aspires to enlightenment. And then he cites 3 verses and states, if it possessed physical form, the merit of the altruistic intention would completely fill the whole of space and exceed even that. So here this means that if you could take the mind that aspires to enlightenment or bodhicitta and turn it into a form, turn it into something that possessed form, then the form that it would take on would be even greater than that of space. So here Atisha is speaking of the infinite qualities that the mind that aspires to enlightenment has.
What the what the Shanchu sent the Shanchu sent pen, Shanchu sent the son of the Zuma, get the Zoo in Baina, and then Naka Naka Yasa the Nakan Shungumar, Naka Tel Laba Mons, then the two Laban Juros. Yan Niba del Carisna, Gangi Shimi Tanya, Sanji Shina, Megaki, the Shenta Gugante, Jiten Gula Puai, Gangi Tamajajete, Shanchu sent the Rotuna, Chobandan Chebapa, Stella Tanmachis, Yan Peniba del Carisna, Sona Niba de Gangi Shimi Tanya, Chu Gangasana Jagal Chuchebu Moyo, Ribe, big river Moyo, Chu Gangasayate, Be Chucheburota, Ganga. Ganga said, Ganga would Shema Moyo, Shema Sen. Shemi Tantanya be, and Sanji Shinga Piola Marbe. And Gangi Shemi Tanyaje, Sanji Shinas, Chu Gangi Shema Tantani, Sanji Shin, Piola, Taji. And that magic and the Sanji Gangi Shemi Tankatanya be, Tajin Jubi Sanji Tule, Rinpoche Kane. Chobabibaina. So no Chibro.
Less
So no Shitaka Chibures. Yinaya, and then I saw Salo Abbot on the Shanju Sanju Gumbaina, Dajin Yabaji on the Sanji Sudan, Judin Mangadu on the Sanji sent to San Tamaina. So no Telechegaris, Telechabat Babaris, more yours. These are not Shanju Sanju won't be
less. If someone were to fill with jewels as many Buddha fields as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, to offer to the protector of the world, this would be surpassed by the gift of folding one's hands and inclining one's mind to enlightenment, for such is limitless. So here, this speaks of if someone were to fill see here, okay, I'll start with this. The Ganges here refers to a river in India. It's a very famous river in India, and it's a very large river. So here, that's why this reference is made. It's maybe similar to the Connecticut River. But maybe it's even bigger than that. So here it's saying, if someone were to fill with jewels as many Buddha fields as there are grains of sand in the Ganges. So here it's that many jewels as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, and made an offering of that many jewels to the protector of the world, that this would not have anywhere near as much merit as just folding one's hands or familiarizing oneself or meditating upon the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So if one sits down and meditates upon the equalizing and exchanging self and others, or the 7-point cause and effect for achieving bodhicitta, if one familiarizes oneself with these and is doing so to achieve the mind that aspires to enlightenment or bodhicitta, then that moment, that moment's merit exceeds that vast offering that was previously stated. So this, we can see just how powerful and how strong the, just how beneficial meditation upon the mind that aspires to enlightenment really is.
강기 시미 장단냐 비 상지 시간 요로보다 들 머지게 세당 무당 안내베 rem부지 자와 체제 간 쇼바베바이나 쇼바야 보시라로 대외 상주 생 공기나 쇼바 델레 쇼바도 봐버렸어 상주 생 공는 쇼바야 주르스 루비 쇼바스.
So if one could offer as much gold and jewels and precious items as he or she could possibly offer to the Pure Lands of the Buddha, and offer as many Pure Lands as there are grains of sand in the Ganges. If all of these things were offered, it would bear nowhere near as much merit as just doing meditation once upon the mind that aspires to enlightenment, or meditating just once on bodhicitta.
다 말라레바 콩 타부는 주네 되네 네 라마다 두슬 부야게 제 가요 말스 콩 투바만 동아요 말스 대통 안에 콩 장주 센터로 콩 되고 그랬어 안에 콩 왔다서 말스 안에 너산세 좀 배워 달라면서 안에 가서 다 되는 거 무슨 되는 거 부야 개문도 생각해 이나 라미 가딘데 드루베 제그레스 드루비 초바게 제그레스 상주가 생고나 초바야주로 두비 초바레스 어떻게 라민까지 써그레스 어때 초바가 거와근걸로 두비 초바 거와가 안에 가서 거와가 두는 거와근걸로 두비 초바레스 상주가 생고나 두비 초바 야주드레스 산제기 셰미 자다냐비 산제기 신강 안에 르무치 칸데 비 초발레 상주 생고 초바 봐버레스.
So the best type of offering is the actual offering of practice. We can see the life story of Milarepa, who achieved the final goal in one lifetime, where he said, I have nothing to offer, I have no jewels, and I have no precious items to offer, but what I have to offer is my practice of the mind that aspires to enlightenment, is my bodhicitta, or practice of bodhicitta. And this offering in and of itself is greater than any material offering that one could ever make. So if one could offer material things and precious items to all of the holy beings that are abiding in the Pure Lands, just offering, this offering would not be anywhere near as great as a meditative offering or an offering of bodhicitta. So Milarepa found the importance of this and stated that his offering was the most important offering that one could make.
Malareba gege mabaris maba. Malareba pya yo maris. Maba ha go goes. Malareba chipu mabal goya yo maris. Maba kol malareba dubu tangwaris. Chu ne chushi and ngal niba kubul man chushi maris. Malareba dubu tang dibata was.
The Yanjur Surinang, the Tama. The Tambo, the Shingyu, the Tama.
Malareba then mabal pya gayo maro.
Less so.
And then the mabak shivers.
Less so.
And then the pure man and a chushi maris.
Oh, less so. T2 Jasa. So in the story of Milarepa, Milarepa's teacher was Marpa. And Milarepa had nothing to offer to Marpa. He had nothing to give because he was very poor. And Marpa knew and understood that Milarepa had nothing to offer. But Marpa would always use harsh words and say to Milarepa, I'm not even going to teach you because you can't even give me an offering. And he was doing this to purify the non-virtue within Milarepa's mind, to purify the negativity that Milarepa had previously accumulated.
And Yamachi Malaribi Jeme or Maba Jeme.
Less so.
Maba Jeme the Jencha than the Zero.
Less so.
Takukale Malariba train the Mabal Fist.
Less so.
I'm could Malariba Kale Mabal Fist.
Less so.
Then the Malariba Maba to not on what the Jeme Maribas.
Less so. And then there's the story of Marpa's wife very secretly giving Milarepa a ring to give to Marpa as an offering because she realized that Milarepa, I'm sorry, she gave it to Milarepa because she realized Milarepa was very poor and had nothing and couldn't even make offerings. So Milarepa made the offering to Marpa of this ring, and then Marpa came back and scolded him and said, "Why are you giving me my own ring? This I gave to my wife. This isn't yours to give." And he gave him a lot of harsh words and scolding. But this was all done for the sole purpose of purifying Milarepa's non-virtue. So by purifying the misdeeds and by meditating or familiarizing himself with the mind that aspires to enlightenment, Milarepa was able to achieve Buddhahood in one lifetime. So if we do any practices such as offering, making prostrations, any type of virtuous activity that we engage in becomes an offering of practice. So if we are, for instance, reading the Heart Sutra, or doing seven-limb prayer, or the source of all my good, or any of these other things, then all of these practices are virtue, and this virtuous practice becomes an offering of practice.
So
these are some benefits, and previously we went over a lot of other benefits as well. So in order for one to have the arisal of the mind that aspires to enlightenment, it's necessary to have three factors present. It's necessary to have accumulation. So this is accumulation of merit, for instance. Accumulation, the tsok tsaba, the tambo zinzigare, the shatsewa dang, tambo tsok shaba, the tsok tsaba, shatsewa dang.
Yala samela dan tsaba gazere. Jambi yala, sabi yala, bi yala sung yoro. What the song on two saba zero, two saba. Oh,
so here, when we speak of the three are accumulation, confession, and repetition. And repetition here refers to repeatedly thinking of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So it's necessary to have these three factors present in order for the mind generation to take place. So accumulation, such as accumulating merit by doing prostrations or making offerings, and so forth, reading prayers, reciting texts. The confession refers to the same as the limb of confession. And the acknowledgement is actually, I think, a better word for that. For acknowledgement of misdeeds is better than confession of misdeeds as far as the translation goes. So that's just a translator's note. So acknowledgement of misdeeds and then repetition, so repeatedly thinking of this. So these three factors are necessary to generate this Mahayana mind.
Then the Tini Lampard 18 number 18 number 18.
Datare.
18 double Tini Shanchu maybe Santa Genesis. Shanchu Mebe Santa Jenene, Beba, Mobeku to Peshashins, Beba Mobeku to Peshashins, what Tini de Kazu Shanchu sent ya, Konia, Kont Pegores, Beba Mobeku to Karasana, Tsosaba, Deba Jonwa, Shanchu sent Gomba, Sonsu Tone, and Shanchu sent ya Pegores. What did it?
So if we want to have the arisal of the mind that aspires to enlightenment, it's necessary to have this collection of three: accumulation, accumulation, the second one, confession or acknowledgement of misdeeds, and repetition. So these three are necessary. And the first two lines of number 18, we can see where it speaks of repetition. It says, having developed the aspiration for enlightenment, constantly enhance it through concerted effort. So that refers to repetition.
What the Tini de Beba Mobeku to Peshasaba, Deba Jonwa. And the Shanchu sent Gombala Shanchu sent Miba Karagur, Naba Karagur, what to say, Shanchu sent Guacha Gures, Shanchu, but Nazozi Mishake Zo Shakerwa, Uzorwa, Shaken the Shebarwa. Then Naji Shanchu sent you to Karare. Mishake Zo Tua Naji, Mishake Uzo Yimbashinto, and the Shanchu sent you to Karare. And the Shanchu sends in the countries. What to look at a shake to Shene, and the Shanchu sends San Tamayina, Shanchu sent Goma.
In order for us to have a very clean, pure meditation or familiarization with the mind that aspires to enlightenment, it's important for us to have engaged in analysis and looked at it in various ways. For instance, what is the object of observation of an I consciousness? The object of observation of an I consciousness is a form, for instance. So that form is the object of observation for an I consciousness. And what is the knower of the form? The knower of the form is the consciousness itself. So the mind that aspires to enlightenment is a mind, is a consciousness. So what is its object of observation? Our sentient beings are, but what are all the objects of observation of the mind that aspires to enlightenment, and so forth? What is the object? What is the agent who is engaged in this, and so forth? So it's important, in order for us to truly understand and to stabilize and strengthen or develop our bodhicitta, it's important for us to have looked at it from all of these different angles to understand what the mind that aspires to enlightenment really is. So you have very good intelligence.
Sanji the Gari, Chugu the Zogo, Zogo Garesana, Zogo Toba Shaunaba, Zogo Toba Shaunaba, Sanlu Zores, Sanju Sayina, Chuzu Jukuni, Zogo Tundini, Chavis, Sanju Toba Shaunaba, Sanlu de, Drugo Don Longo, or then the Toba Shaunaba Zores, Drugo Don Longo Toba Ina, Saint Taji Tunshi Tugres, what the Sanlu you are is Marbe.
So this mind that aspires to enlightenment is a mind that wishes to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. And what is a Buddha? The Buddha is the truth body and the form body. So these two things make up when we say Buddha, what a Buddha is. And the reason for the Bodhisattva wishing to achieve Buddhahood is to be able to help other sentient beings. And the way that he or she does that is through producing the two types of the form body, the emanation body and the enjoyment body. And these two bodies then can help other sentient beings. The bodhicitta, or the mind that aspires to enlightenment, is the section of one's practice or realization which actually creates the form bodies, the enjoyment body and the emanation body. So when we speak of Buddha, Buddha refers to, it can be divided in various ways, but right now we'll speak of two divisions, truth body and form body, or Dharmakaya and Robokaya.
or the San Tang for us. That's Shanchu Sen Gontan, the Abhishek on the Shanchu Sen Gomba Yavaris. Gontan Yamajina, Shanchu Sen Gomba Yisan, Goa Luhaji Gonda, Yagayoris.
Got it.
Shanchu Sen Gontan Yamajina. And the Koron Sambala and Shanchu Sen Gongo US on Tangarota. Shanchu Sen Magu Jenda Gondioris. Shanchu Gonshi Marota. Me but they have Nandu and the Shigarota.
So if one engages in analysis, then it's possible to have a true understanding of this. If one has a very good meditation on bodhicitta, because of this analysis that he or she engaged in, then the bodhicitta will be strengthened. But one might, if one hasn't or doesn't understand this very well, but thinks that he or she is engaged in a true meditation upon bodhicitta, it's possible that he or she is not even meditating upon bodhicitta and is meditating on something completely different. So it's important to understand what the object of observation is for the meditation or for the familiarization so that the true results can be achieved.
Sendel Mania by Ina, Joa Shaman Yana Rigo Maris, Joa Shaman Penchile, Shanchuka Semania, Tashi Karchi Ures, the Tashi de Tiniba de Gatan Ores. Then the Joa Genton, Tandento, Chikishi with Habon, Yonso Sons, Tanda Anga Juji, Chigan on Niba, Tamani, Tamani dress. Tamani de Joa Shama, Sanjil. Tibetan Buddhism, Manyabi Jul Hobby Suji, Manyabi Sudden waters. Sendel Sanji Manana, Joa Shaman Yas on the Panto Maris, Joa Shamalea, Shanchu Sam Manaba Gores, the Tashi Karaji Gores, and see Shaman in the name waters.
The indicate the Dumba. You're
Dumba Matuba Tuba, Tuba Manaba Sui,
Dumba Maloba,
Tuba Manaba Sui to do it.
It's say de dan shema.
Then the Joa Genton,
Jagamare.
Oh,
then Dumba Yapo
Chikishi will have a Yunus, Chutin Gores, Chutin Garesana, Nabi Chujibon, Gabi Chujin Yasulan Wars, Nabi Chujibon, Ungoya, Nabi Chuje, Gabi Chujin Yalanji Wars, then Yalan Abajibaina, Seshamalea, Shanju San. Nyagamaris, Shanju San Gomba the Tegris. What the later word?
Okay, so the last two lines of number 18 say to remember it in this and also in other lives or future lives, keep the precepts properly as explained. And here it speaks of the three types of ethics and making sure that one abandons the black dharmas or negativities and takes on or practices the white dharmas or positivity. So it's necessary when it says abandons the black dharmas, this refers to abandoning negative behaviors or actions. And when it says to practice the white dharmas, this refers to properly keeping vows and properly engaging in the three types of ethical behavior. In order, we wish to not, if the bodhicitta is not lost in this life, but in the next life it's lost, then this isn't very helpful. So we want to have a stable type of mind that aspires to enlightenment that will not only be sustained in this life, but also in future lives. And the way we do that is to abandon black dharma and to take on or practice the white dharmas.
Nabi Chujibon, Gabi Chujin Yalan, that's a Shama Sanjil Yangamaris, the Gabason Warsana, you are song should be low, and then Gabi Chujin, Nabi Chujin Wars, Chuji, Nabi Chujibon, Gabi Chujin Yalan, Seshama Sanjil Yangamaris, you are song should be, Netu Song Pichi Hindro, you are song Gashani Kujin, Sanjig Shugul, Sanjig Telepekin Jura, Netu Song Chamas. 月松，
明白了，年度木松。
月当我是light月松，
年度比
年度
空明
月松大，
空明。
年度月松引起了月松居民楼是，年度月松被接引个年度月松。
Then Yanjer Surana. It's Selpo Lago.
都就话的，都对面的开始呢，月松个区别楼是。
Okay.
月松是要上这个罗马就话的是，这个区别都就话的是。这里哪边缺些的，隔壁缺些的中话的是。这里说明哪边缺些的帮，隔壁缺些娘来这个人呢，这些嘛三姐娘个嘛的，三姐也不用过的，我呢我都别个的是，我都说的。
It's stated in the sutra, and I don't have an exact translation of the name of the sutra. It sounds like the hearer's sutra of light, or of hearer's sutra of radiance. The Tibetan, that's what it sounds like, but it might be translated as something else. I'm not familiar with it. But here it speaks of abandoning black dharmas and practicing or taking on the white dharmas. And it states that if one abandons the black dharmas, then one will not lose the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And it's necessary to practice the white dharmas also in order to not lose the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So it can be found in a sutra, this reference to white and black dharmas.
但哪边缺些的个的是呢？哪边缺些个当不得，看路数准就我个话是，哪边缺些当不得。所以让
Chuje.
缺些。
Okay, and there are 4 of each of the kinds of dharmas. There are 4 of the white dharmas and 4 of the black dharmas. So we'll go over those.
本来个dharma当不得，看路数准就我个话是，所以看不当，随便当。 Lama准家准些的，我个话接的是，我对也不要嘛的是，对这边呢，吃什么，俺才接娘那个的是。
So the first one is disrespecting holy beings. So disrespecting, for instance, our teacher or other holy beings and so forth. So the first black dharma is disrespecting holy beings. And this will send us into the Seishima Nyawa, God, the Chik.
这些嘛想做个生，对看不得路边当喇嘛当，长街都是家这些边呢，这些嘛三姐两个人他也不要嘛的是。
So if we, for instance, disrespect our teacher and so forth, then we will run the risk of losing the mind that aspires to enlightenment in the future.
但你把的，但你把人给我写把人就把结巴是，但现在给我也不如想做生去这个做了，去要嘛就去开始开始的，给不要嘛是去偏土要嘛的是，我的老说的，俺呢就把结巴人那去我的拿去你把的是，我的结巴人那这些嘛生结两个人打是也不要嘛的是。
So the next is discouraging others. Discouraging others here refers, for instance, to if someone else is engaging in practices or engaging in familiarization or meditation in the mind that aspires to enlightenment, and saying, you don't need to do that. There's no reason to engage in that practice. It's pointless. So if one discourages others, this becomes a causal factor for losing the mind that aspires to enlightenment in the future.
他想生现在老是弄浪的，他本来想就什么现在弄浪的，都叫老鼠呢，哈说我的啥的，穷人也不买的啥的，我的老鼠呢，想就什么了，俺穷人也不买的是，都叫老鼠呢，吃什么生计两个人也不要买的是。
So using disrespectful language or harsh communication with a bodhisattva, if one uses that, then he or she will lose the mind that aspires to enlightenment in the future.
我的想就什么吹送那地方么，给我们种这个是，刚才解释那了吹吧，人当才想给我给把家，啥不给几个种的些，想就先弄浪说呢，给把家啥啥不地方给我跟种这个是，我的那就，对我们就不嘛的，就了的了。 给把东的啥呗，人当这些去了说，控制几个钟些是， 상주 생발로 컨트롤 하고나 개바 동도 사비 그산 종로 그래서 오만 조반 개바 자사비 그산 종 그래서
Kalpaja, okay.
what the moment was
So we can find references in various different texts to this using harsh words or anger towards the bodhisattva. In the Bodhichara Avatara, the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Shantideva states that one moment of anger towards a bodhisattva can destroy 1,000 eons of merit or virtue previously created. And also in the Umajupa, the Madhyamika Avatara, Chandrakirti's entrance to the middle way, we can also find a quote where he states that one moment of anger towards a holy being, such as a bodhisattva, can destroy 100 eons or kalpas of virtue or merit previously created. So we find references in these two important texts to the problem with using anger or angry mannerisms towards a holy being, such as a bodhisattva, and the downfalls of doing so.
다 제바들 하산 maybe 유주 제바사 하산 maybe 유주 제바사 하산 생각도 라비상 버시요와 마셰 텐텐 저도 용구 상을 하산 세지도와 텐들레야 고주여지로와 대마임비야 그와는 현달래야 아니 시다가 sensu 집에 인도도 된다를 매바지 오늘 요는도 진 라상 어디 집에 있나 sen질량 그랬어
Selpo the understood.
준대 명아 뒤는 라상 세지도와 시제 단지 도알 나룬 거기 동행 나룬 거기 라상으로
Lesser.
된나지 오늘 새날로 된다 매바지 아니 매제달 나 라상 집에 인도도지 단다 내 지시문가 제도 인도도지나 요즘 말고 요주진
Ale. So also the next deceit, and deceit here refers to outward behavior versus inner behavior. Outward behavior is saying, I have the extraordinary attitude. Extraordinary attitude, for just people so people know, refers to the sixth step of the 7-point cause and effect for achieving bodhicitta, laksam. So this refers to outwardly pretending to have this extraordinary attitude, and all of one's physical mannerisms and outward actions are as if one has this, but inwardly there truly isn't that. So it's deceit or fraudulent behavior that is mutually exclusive with that, that is truly in the being's mind.
어 나비 취해지세도
So these are the four black dharmas.
어 대제도 야보 본 거랬어
So these four should be abandoned very well.
딱 가비 취해지도 가르스나 가비 취해지스나 세지지 준봉하스 안에 소소 세지도 짜진 세주마 준말로스 아니 가서 먹이 주봉은 주요로 랜스고 말네 르질레 나바소 준탐 나기 준탐 치수 준말베 준마시스 준 준봉거레스
So Zun Sheba Pomba.
What Zumboma?
Okay, so the first of the white dharmas is to abandon lying, or abandoning speech. It's technically called abandoning speech which is not concordant with the truth.
어제 준봉was 예 티진라 쇼was 안 메젠달 티 상주가 생 티바 준비 주냐래 제기는 시다야 버르다스 편시에 워르스 편시네 안 고주 티바 준비 주냐래 제소나 안 가수 쓰셔만 세제 많이 보여 보용거레스
So the next is called encouragement. So this is encouraging others. For instance, if someone else is practicing the great vehicle, or the engaging in the familiarization with the mind that aspires to enlightenment, and doing this, it's good to encourage that person, to speak of the benefits of doing so, and stating things such as, in this and in this time and in the future, if you engage in this familiarization, you will not lose your realization. You will not lose your mind that aspires to enlightenment. So it's encouraging practitioners, which becomes the second white dharma.
다 손바도 그걸 덤빈 뒤에 제바스 세전 다지 나가 덤바이 나이 그게인스 어두 산다바이나 세시마 세지냐고 말이스 야부르스
So Semchen Tamching nge gegen yimba kelemba.
덤빈 뒤에 제바스 세전 다지라고 말해 바래 그게레 네 나이 그게인스 산다바이나 어두 편셔부르스
So the next benefit is to see that all sentient beings are like our teachers, are as kind as our teachers. So it's similar to recognizing that all sentient beings have been our mothers, or recognizing that all sentient beings have been our fathers. So here this is looking at all sentient beings as our teachers, or our gurus. So trying to develop an attitude such as that.
And the Sinjan Ranga Mashi on the member, Sinjan Gagan Geniovaris. Sinjan Gagan is on the Abbot.
So if we can state or assert that all sentient beings are our mother, then we can logically conclude that all sentient beings are also our teacher.
You do remember Trambo is Trambo. Trambo Garzagre.
I don't know.
Kecha Trambo is Trambos.
Don't negare.
And then you do remember Kecha in the Trambo Shiva Trambo. Zuma Shiva, Trambo Shiva, Katu Shiva, Leka Trambo, Kecha Trambo.
Oh, accurate. Accurate.
Lekan to Chuchu Majis, the San Lucarine, Chuchu Maj, Trambo
Single pointed or accurate. Yeah.
What they did the Kabi churches, Tejan Abijin,
Shipagare.
Trambo Shivas, Trambo.
Steadfast.
You remember Trambo Shivas, Trambo Shiva. Kashi Tachishina, San Olukanya, Jenda Jindu Lukashia, what the Jeju Mare, Kesha, Trambo Shivas.
So the next is making sure that the actual inner mind is concordant with the outer. So it's making sure that one is truly engaging in the things that he or she is outwardly asserting to do. So this becomes, is that 4? I feel like that was 3. Did we get 4? Oh, okay, yeah, it is 4.
What are what the Geshe Lharampa what about the Sabajimara?
So now maybe we'll conclude because we've finished those categories of dharmas. So,
one question.
Sure.
Stanza 17, when it talks about the virtue of applying all minds to enlightenment, are they engaged bodhicitta or expiring bodhicitta or both?
In number 17,
Yeah.
this would be surpassed by the gift of folding one's hands.
And applying one minds to enlightenment.
So here is number 17 specifically referring to in aspirational bodhicitta.
Is it aspirational or engaged?
The Judun, the Shuloka, Judun. Here, this is easier. Shuloka Judunba.
So it says aspiration in
I think that it says in
English.
the Tibetan though.
Chedimbo Kangi Tamajaji, the Shanju Sen, Retu, Choban and Choba, Kangi Tamajaji, and Kangi Tamajaji, this Kansan and Arusu Kangal Sigaroa, Kanki, Kanza Kanki, Tamajuelon Tamajaji, the Shanju to the Sentunas, and the Shanju Sentus Gombaina, and the Meji Kangi, Shimi Tadanya, Sanji, Shingalo, Rambachi, Kan the Pubale, Chobat Baba.
Kakre, Kongi Chewa, the Jusem Musem, Gare. The Semche, Jusem Musem, the Ni, the Musem Jusem Gare. Kagi. This is speaking of aspirational bodhicitta. Because we haven't arrived at the engaged part. Because in the text we get to a part where it talks about taking a bodhisattva vow. So are we all set?
Are we doing questions after?
We're the Tambo Triwadan Lenja, the Tambo Hua. So we're going to do the prayers first, because it's gotten, I think, quite late, and maybe folks will want to go, and then we can ask questions, whatever. It's fine. So we begin with mandala offering, correct? You start, Diane. I gotta get situated here. Okay.
It's in the back.
The Here. Ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient living beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of the Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. La ji mu ni ju ji me do nam ri ra li ni ni ne yen van di zan ye ji nu mi de u a ji Jogu nanda yin lan ju ma jo da gi jin ye za beng ge wa di tian dan ro wa gun la gam ben na ye ban ye zun ho zan ra ba yi ten re nim bo rin du zen ye yo idam guru ratna mandala gram niradayam. Let's do the rest of the prayers maybe in Tibetan. It's 1/4 and then we can do question and answer. Jambe ba wu je da jen ba dang kun du zambo de an de jin te de da gun ji jesu da lo je ge wa de da tan che ra du ngo du zum she pe je wa tan che ji ngo wa gan la jo du nga pa de da jen ge we tsa wa di kun jan sam po chu che ra du ngo wan yi nga ri ra wen ko wen jin yan de ben dan de wa ma lu yong wen ne Chenrezig wan Tenzin ya zo yi ja me zui de ma du nen yo ni lo zon zam bo shun jen hang ala Yun rin jam bon zi bing ge wei shen lon dan do wei den ba zin she ma Khensur wan da rin shen shab den jo lon ru je zhong an mun ba ze ga ben go zum dong a dan chu zen dan yo zun ru du zan da ru nyen Geshe gom bo yu rin cha ben yo. I just also want to apologize for last week. I had to drive to Chicago for my work, and it was really a good opportunity for me to make good money, and I needed to do it. So it was a last-minute thing. I got called Saturday night, and that's why the teaching got canceled last week. So I apologize, and it isn't going to be something that happens all the time, but it was a rare opportunity for me. So maybe we'll have a couple questions, and then we can go. Rinpoche, we need to eat. Yes?
I think it was a question, but then I think it turned out to be a statement of observation. And I was thinking, when Rinpoche they said that all, because all sentient beings have been our mothers, then all sentient beings have been our teachers.
Sure. They've been everything.
Then I was thinking, that they, so I was thinking about, the, generating bodhicitta. I'm just trying to make that connection. I haven't gone there yet, but I was thinking about the ultimate teacher because the one who has achieved Buddhahood is the only one that can really liberate us. So I was thinking about the ultimate teacher. People can't take refuge in like ordinary teachers. People can teach us how to do certain things, but the only one that can teach us is Buddha to the
Right.
So it was, I guess it was just something that I realized.
Cool.
No, not really.
True Yomari.
And then the other question I had was in the Heart Sutra.
Uh-huh.
Realizing emptiness. Wait a second. Is the realization of emptiness abiding in Prajnaparamita and the deathless state? Are they the same?
A deathless state. Is a deathless state the same as the realization of emptiness?
And are they the same as Prajnaparamita? When a person is in, are those things synonymous?
The kongi triwa, the doni dopi sherab, dang shera jibara de shimba, dang meshewa, the shigamare, gangisana sanje shigamare, no death, shigamare. This sum dun chik yimba.
Doni dopi shera
Doni dopi shera dan shera jibara de shimba, dang I don't know, deathless state, shigamare.
Mishiba.
The ignorance yomare, meripa mishepa yomare, the sanje drongamare, gangisena kon sanje yomare. Chewa mepa. This sum dun chik, kongi chewa. Gangisena the shera nimpo nala, the sum yure. Then dun chik yimba.
Shera jiparo shimba. Shera Doni dopi shera shanchu senpi juji doni dopi shera zukangalo juyi paro shimba singre. Juyi paro shimba. Cause
causal perfection.
Sanji ki toju ki yosung to zukangalo rebi paro shimba. Rebi paro shimba. Tene chewa meba sana rebi paro shimba, juyi paro shimba zukang pechi sheba marbe, sheba ro. Or sheba rab marbe. Tanda Shanchu Semba Mayimbi Doni to be Shero Yoro, the Sul Pashin Lago Maris. Pashin Lago Maris. Choa Meba de Sanji Madu Kangal Show Yoris. Sanji Show Yomaris. Choa Bomba de Chedag Dus. Chedag Du Choa Bomba Sanji Madu Yomaris. Sanji
Then Doni Dopi Shera.
Then Kakaris.
Kakare. This sum kakare. So all three of those are different. So just an explanation, the wisdom realizing emptiness is a realization that one can have. So the wisdom realizing emptiness at the level of a bodhisattva that hasn't achieved complete Buddhahood is called the causal perfection of wisdom, or the causal prajnaparamita, the causal prajnaparamita, or causal perfection of wisdom. Prajnaparamita is a Sanskrit word, which means perfection of wisdom. So the causal, the Buddha, the realization that a Buddha has is resultant perfection of wisdom, or resultant prajnaparamita. So the actual wisdom realizing emptiness is different than the perfection of wisdom. And the deathless state is something that a Buddha possesses, but it isn't necessarily the wisdom realizing emptiness. It's just a quality that the Buddha possesses because of the realization that he possesses. So it's a result of that, of the realizations. The deathless state is a result of the realizations of emptiness, is a result of the resultant perfection of wisdom, but isn't the resultant perfection of wisdom itself. Make sense? It does. But it's,
주 버리지 받은 파신 메다 버마.
So Panchen Sonandrapa says that causal perfection of wisdom is just nominally designated as perfection of wisdom. It's not truly the perfection of wisdom. It's only the resultant perfection of wisdom that is truly perfection of wisdom. It's just nominally designated as perfection of wisdom in the causal state.
주 버리지 신바다 용 파신 메다 버서.
These are just nominally designated as preliminary states or possibly, but only nominally designated as perfection of wisdom. It's not true perfection of wisdom.
하드 수트라를 파신 라고 그랬어.
So in the Heart Sutra, it speaks of Parshin, perfection of wisdom.
용 파신.
Prajnaparamita, it speaks of.
체 파신 거. 용로 가서 체. 용 파신 주 파신인데 파신 메다 버서.
Preliminary.
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 파신 원에 말 파신 원에 제비 파신.
Hakosun.
가서
Ngune mare. Mingida. Hakosun. Lapsar.
용나달 드라이스 용나달 랑파신다 용파신이들 드라스 드라다 버서.
So these paths, Parshin, Lam Parshin Dante, these paths, perfection of wisdom, preliminary perfection of wisdom, and so forth, causal factor, perfection of wisdom. Causal perfection of wisdom is always just nominally designated as such and is not true actual perfection of wisdom. It's a facsimile thereof, but not the actual. So this has been expressed. And it's maybe different in some texts. Some texts do state that the causal perfection of wisdom is perfection of wisdom and isn't just nominally designated as such.
Okay.
Okay?